Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where Let's try this again. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to another one of my live streams, and welcome to Sober Talk. For those that are not familiar with Sober Talk, it is where we go live and tell stories or some of my personal experiences getting sober and pretty much what a sober life has been like for me from way back when all the way up till current date. I am a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. My sober date is February 7th, 2006. That's when I got sober. Welcome, Midnight Cool. Welcome to the live stream. Tonight is going to be another sober talk, and I've it's one of those things I know where I would like to go with tonight, but it's a funny thing when we get going on sober talk. I might have a plan, but usually it doesn't always turn out that way. Usually, what's going on, Queen Bee? Usually, what I intended to talk about is not what ends up being talked about. What usually ends up happening is I start getting in that whole exciting world of telling those stories, and it's one of those things. It's the real deal. But as a general rule of thumb, we take the first 10 minutes, we chill out, we Wang Chung, get caught up on everything, and at the same time, we kind of wait for everyone that is going to make it for the first part, make their way in, and that sort of thing. I am doing great. I'm doing great. Had an interesting day at work. It was a good day. Got a lot done. I think I'm going to choke the life out of my backup counterpart. Boy, I'm telling you, he's getting lazy. Getting lazy. These kids these days. No, he's just getting careless with the job, and it's frustrating for me. Other than that, I mean, I'm having a good time. I'm ready to, talk about sobriety tonight. And yesterday's live stream was a huge success in the regard that we picked up a couple more supporters yesterday. Basically, we made some new friends. We made some new friends. That's right. I wouldn't have it any other way. So I was sitting there. I know, I know, a nasty habit. Uh, but it's one of those things. I've been, work's been work. So I'm pretty good about that. Tomorrow we got, we're gonna house Faye. She's at work. She's feeling a little under the weather, emotionally. I'm not sure what's going on there. Um, she thought it'd be a good night for me to talk about the steps. And the last time we talked about the steps, we left off at step 5. And yeah, she just, how even normal people, I don't know why a lot of people do this. A lot of people experience those highs and lows, and we automatically attribute them. We all have to have some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for here? We all got to have some sort of ailment, some mental ailment. And it's not necessarily the case. I'm not saying that isn't a real thing. It is a real thing. People suffer from depression and things like that. But normal everyday people have what I like to call just getting the blues, where they just feel down in the dumps. Depression is a straight up diagnosis, and some people suffer those highs and lows. We all suffer them from time to time. Even I do. Even I do. We all experience them. Well, and it's hard to get out of that spot. As a matter of fact, there's actually a song that really nails this down. That really nails it down, and it's a song by Neil Diamond. It's literally called "Song Sung Blue," and it's one of my favorites to sing in karaoke. Even though I don't have any footage of me singing it, it's a damn good song. Sometimes you just You know, some people just got the blues, you know, and when you got it, you just got to go with it, you know. So, I'm not saying, she still deals with this sort of thing, and a lot of times when people experience this a little bit more than usual, what's going on, Harrison? When people experience this a little more than usual, automatically, no, you just got the blues a lot. What's going on in your life? And she's hit a low spot. I know she has, as some doctors have said, that there's an excellent chance that she may have, the usual bipolar stuff. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. That's all right, Harrison. I'm not here either, especially right here. Anyhow, so it's just one of those things. Um, we all have our ways of dealing with the blues, and sober talk is sometimes. Oh, Princess Faye is just feeling a little low today. So if she pokes in anytime during this stream, just remind her she's that we all love her. Well, I'm glad you're here, Harrison. Tonight I'm Queen. You mentioned something. You mentioned something. Yesterday when we were talking and having a good time that you'd like to hear some news stories, and I've got a few of those. There you go, as it should be. So, first 10 minutes, we just kind of chill out, Wang Chung, whatever, Um, and tonight I've got some stories I hadn't quite talked about yet. Kind of preluded to them, and a lot of times when the chat starts jumping, my mind starts racing, and before you know it, what in one story I intended to tell isn't the story I ended up telling it. They're all true stories, but it's one of those things. Sometimes you know how it goes. You get sidetracked, you get chasing rabbits, especially if you're me, you get chasing rabbits. Uh, you know, um, and the story I intended to tell isn't the one, that ends up coming out. So a lot of times I end up telling stories that you guys might have heard a time or two. Um, but the plan is tonight, I'm basically going to be telling some of the old stories uh, from my eighth and ninth steps, and might even talk a little bit about 6 and 7. I know that's where we kind of left off, and there's really not a whole lot to tell with those. I mean, there's a little bit to tell, but not a lot. Not a lot. And if he shows up tonight, I got a special shout out for somebody. I mean, y'all get shout outs anyways, but if he shows up tonight, he's got a special shout out. For those that don't know, Gamerian BRFC, it's his birthday. For all of us here in the U.S. and basically on this part of the time meridian, the prime meridian, I guess is the proper way of saying it. It is Ian's birthday today, and one, a fine friend to the Prince Magnum channel, fine friend to a lot of us. He's an amazing guy, and just wonderful personality. He shouted a lot of us out earlier in a video. I think it was when I seen it. It had been something like 5 hours when I finally got the chance to see it, and he was going to be going out partying hardy. Which, if he doesn't show up for because he's out partying hardy, have a good time for me, buddy. That's what's up. And I know last week he was asking all the right questions. I mean, he asked the right questions. He asked the questions that a lot of normal, everyday people who have no experience with Alcoholics Anonymous would typically ask. Things like that. People, things that people just don't fully grasp. Maybe they, it's kind of hard to understand. They've always been taught one thing, and then in hearing this whole disease about alcoholism, it's brand new to them. And he asked all those right questions, put me on the spot, and I'm telling you, it's like, man, you couldn't ask for the better questions. And I was trying to explain that to him, and I don't think I did a very good job. trying to explain that he was asking those right questions. Times those questions that he was asking, I mean, a lot of times I have to answer those questions to normal everyday people, and it's just kind of the nature of the beast, um, that that does happen. That does happen, from time to time. You know, more often than not, when I start talking about my sobriety, a lot of times most people are like, "Oh, thank God you're sober," and it's such a blessing to meet, an alcoholic in sobriety. But one of the number one things that people, oh, that's what's up. That's what's up, Kevin. That's what's up. Kevin, you're a good guy. It's good to see you tonight. I hope you're doing well, and I hope that nephew of yours is doing good. You know, and there's a Zelda in the window. I've got a video to upload here in a little bit. It's just kind of a short clip, and uh it's of Taver grooming Zelda. It was cute. I have to upload it. He's basically that's his kitten now. He's he's taken over raising Zelda. It's cute. Sounds like Nick came home. But anyhow, so as soon as I finish this, we're going to go into the office and we're going to start talking about some of the old stories in conjunction with some of the steps. I know I've kind of talked about some of these things. Yeah, yeah, we all love little Zelda. She's a she's a hoot. Um, well, good to hear. Good to hear. Glad to hear you're all doing well. Oh, you get off me now, Harrison. Come on, man. I'm it's the one nasty habit I got left. Right. Oh my god. It is so she's so cute and it is Harrison and I know it is, buddy. It's just the hardest habit for me to quit. You know, it is the hardest habit. Well, hello there, Galaxy. You want to say hi to everybody? Want to say hi to everybody? Big fluffy black cat. She won't admit it, right? Oh, she's a beautiful cat. There are people around here that would just do harm to a black cat, and I don't understand how. There, so many superstitious types around where I live. She's a fussy black cat. Let me tell you. Here, folks want to see. Hi. She won't admit it, but oh, they're beautiful, beautiful creatures. The little motorboats are going too. Oh, she's a beautiful, beautiful black cat. Um, so yeah, that's our beautiful cat Galaxy. She she was actually kind of a Well, yeah, she's purring. Yeah, she's a purring kitty. Well, uh, shoot, Tavor's been keeping an eye on Tavor's been keeping an eye. And what's going on, Mikey G? Yep, that's the famous galaxy. Yeah. Well, it's good to see everybody. Mikey G, I see you got the Save the World campaign. Oh, I love cats. Cats are interesting creatures. I believe it's a horrible joke that any higher power, I don't care who you believe in, that any higher power would take the ultimate killing machine and lock it in a size of a body like that. All the meow babies, I love it. Love it. Okay. Yeah. You and I are going to have to hook up because I've actually been doing pretty good at Save the World. We'll have to hook up. You're a dog lover? Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Not super huge on dogs, but nothing wrong with a good dog. But anyhow, let's kick this party off. Let me take y'all back in time. You're streaming it tomorrow? All right. I can get home in time soon enough. That we'll have to hook up, man. Be awesome. All right. So let's get this party started. For those who don't know, my sober date. I'm a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and my sober date is February 7th, 2006. So this coming February 7th, if I'm fortunate enough to make it sober, it'll be 15 years since my last drink or drug, and that's as a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. What's going on, TFZ Gaming? Welcome to the live stream, my friend. I got a chance to look at that video on Janelle, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed what you've done so far. I'm doing fantastic. That's what's up. Thank you, Harrison. I appreciate that. I'm doing fantastic. It was kind of an interesting day at work. I got through it. It was kind of a tough day, but I got through it and I got through it sober. That's all that matters. To me, if you start trying to read in more than that, you're selling the gift of sobriety short. But for those that don't know, like I said, February 7th, 2006, that's when I began this journey. That's when I began my journey in Alcoholics Anonymous. That's been a little while ago. And going back to that first year, tell y'all, when you're going through the steps, it is not a race. You work them at your own pace. I just have an unusual pace for me. And going back, it took me 4 months and 1 week to get through my initial walkthrough of all 12 steps. Okay. And please note how I said that. My initial walkthrough. Okay. That's when Sober Man and I sat down, cracked open the book, start to finish, going through the initial walkthrough. Now that doesn't mean I haven't had to revisit steps as we've continued on. As time goes on, occasionally I remember something from my 4th step and I got to go back and kind of go through that again. If I'm off kilter, I got to sit down with my 3rd step. What's going on with Prince Magnum in his 3rd step? When I'm having a hard time dealing with life, it's usually something's wrong with my 3rd step. And I got to take a look at me again, when I'm struggling with me again. And that's just the nature of the beast. Hey, Mikey G, I'm just glad you're here. And maybe there might be something in this, that might help you through. I'm hoping there is. But what's going on, Blucky? I haven't seen you in a minute. Figured you've been busy kind of guy. You're probably working on something. Good to see you too. Hope you've been doing well through this crazy pandemic, phase 2 of the pandemic. Sounds like it should be. It sounds like a bad TV show. Sounds like a bad TV show. I'm telling you. But anyhow, so here we are. Dealing with the pandemic, and here I am reminiscing, going back in time, and I will be here. So let me tell you all, when little kittens, Zelda's doing good. Her and I'll have to upload a video here in a little bit of her and Taver. Taver, my big cat, the one I always tease and say, "Don't fat shame my cat." He's been taking care of Zelda. Actually, earlier today, I got about 2 minutes worth of video footage of Taver just grooming little Zelda. So I might just have to upload that. I know Queen Bee is already asking for it. Why isn't it up? I just haven't done it yet. But anyhow, so we're gonna go back in time. Yeah. He don't let him fool you. That he gives that look like he doesn't care about much. I know better. He's my buddy. Him and I've been through a lot together. All righty. So going back, as I was going through the steps. Oh, he's best friend he's best friend anybody can have. I always say he's my guard cat. You break in here and he'll cuddle you to death. Just how he is. He's just a big baby. You can actually carry him around like a little baby, and he actually likes it. It's his thing. But anyhow, all right. I need to get on to some stories about sobriety here. All right. I'm putting my foot down. I'm getting on to stories about sobriety. So when you go back and you take a look at Sober Man and I going through the steps, again, it's not a race, but it took me 4 months and 1 week to get through the steps. That's just the pace that I work at. It's just, I don't know. That's just how I go. I just, rock and roll until I get to the end, nose to the grinding stone, and, you do your best. Well, gosh dang, you better take it easy, man. Take it easy, TFZ. You can't work if you're broken, okay? Slow down and don't break yourself. Pace yourself, my friend. So as we were going through the steps, Princess Faye asked, why don't you talk about 6 and 7 since you talked about your 5th step, one of the last things you did, talking about your 5th steps. Really not a whole lot to talk about. Step 6, it just talks about, what are your character defects? Well, if you've done a thorough 4th and 5th step, you know what your freaking character defects are. That's really the honest goodness truth. I'm an egomaniac. I like to steal the spotlight. Not a joke. I like to steal the spotlight. I like to be center stage. I want all eyes on me. Today, I like to be a speaker at AA meetings. I like to be a speaker at AA meetings because I always learn so much from being in that spot. And then on top of that, I like to, be live on my YouTube channel, interact with you all, and, things like that. So that's, even though I'm an egomaniac and, I like the attention and everything, this is how we turn a frown upside down, as I jokingly say in an AA meeting. This is how you take your character defect and you turn it into an asset. That's just one of those things, I'm short on patience, but because I'm short on patience, I turn that into my drive to achieve my goals. I don't know of anyone who does Al-Anon meetings on YouTube. I really don't know. I'll be absolutely honest with you. AA refers to Al-Anon as the sister program, but Al-Anon doesn't usually refer to AA. And a lot of times it's because a lot of people in Al-Anon are kind of, as there's no other way to put it. Sometimes our friends in Al-Anon have got a lot of resentment towards those of us in AA for damn good reason. We're the ones that drove them there. It's kind of, so I'll be absolutely honest with you. I don't usually keep up with Al-Anon. I know in my area, there's a couple of Al-Anon meetings, actually really good Al-Anon meetings in our area. And they just don't have they just have a lot of problems keeping people in the meetings. And more often than not, with our Al-Anon, the sister program, again, that's what us in Alcoholics Anonymous call it. A lot of times people will go to Al-Anon and that's their back door into AA, really. Yeah, you had no choice. You had to get it done. So, that's just one of those things. That's the funny thing about Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, so a lot of times anymore, that's the back door into AA. A lot of people go to Al-Anon claiming it's their other half when they themselves have the problem. Funny how that works. So I'll be absolutely honest with you. I don't know. But I have nothing but the ultimate respect for the sister program. I have nothing but respect. And as a matter of fact, the co-founder Bill W. and his wife Lois actually helped Al-Anon off the ground, and Lois was really one of the major pioneers in the Al-Anon program. Of course, again, Bill W. had his hand in helping get it start, but then after that, he had to take his hands off of it. Oh, Al-Anon's an amazing program. And actually, Al-Anon helped me kind of learn to deal with an ex that I had. My son Devin helped me deal with his mother. They actually helped me a great deal in dealing with it. Okay, Al-Anon is for the friends and family of alcoholics, or that's how it all started off with. It helps the friends and family of alcoholics learn how to deal with their alcoholic, whether or not they're sober. That is the sole purpose. Because what ends up happening is, for those of you out there, say you've got a loved one that you're very close to, who is an alcoholic, and nowadays Al-Anon even takes on the friends of addicts as well, which that's amazing. Al-Anon, what it actually does is it helps teach you how to live life dealing with that alcoholic or addict. Because what ends up happening to the loved ones is, because of us, you guys get sick. You guys get sick kind of like us. I'll give you an example. There was a story that has been passed around for many years in Alcoholics Anonymous, where the husband was a fallen down drunk, and he was very much a tyrant in his own home. When he would pass out drunk in front of the kids, the wife would walk up and start kicking him in the head as he was passed out on the couch. Now, that's not exactly normal thinking. Okay, that's very sick thinking. While he's passed out, kids are watching, she starts kicking him in the head. So this is very abnormal behavior. This is something that a normal person wouldn't do. She ended up needing Al-Anon. She got sick too. She got very sick from dealing with her alcoholic husband. I wouldn't say alcoholism is a contagious disease, but the mental, dealing with the mental rigors of alcoholism is contagious. Whether you're afflicted with it or not, you kind of pick up dealing with that, and it's a horrible, horrible reality. So here we are now, Al-Anon is an amazing program, and I have nothing bad to say about our sister program. As a matter of fact, like I said, they helped me learn how to deal with my ex. My son's Devin, his mother, who actually spent 5 years in prison over heroin. Heroin. Um, I In sobriety, and I know I've kind of told a little bit about this story, so maybe now what I thought I was going to talk about is not what it's going to be about. Isn't that ironic? I was about 3 years sober, and of all the things, my ex, as I'm this is I was actually engaged in living with the gal that was before Princess Faye, who I often call Lady Katrina. Her and I were getting ready to settle in for the evening and kind of just chilling out, watching movies, playing World of Warcraft, of all the things. And get a phone call. And it's my son's mother, Jessica. And she's drunk, and I know it. In the middle of all this, I said, okay, don't get me wrong. I said, I assume that that Devin is with his sister, with your sister. And she's like, no, he's in the other room. Oh, your sister came over to watch him. No, it's just us. And for some odd reason, I just had warning signs go off. And she didn't tell me where she was living, but I knew she was in the neighborhood, more or less. I didn't know how far, how close, but I knew she wasn't super far off. Well, in the process of this, I kind of motioned to Lady Katrina, we need to get, do a reverse search on her phone number, get an address, something. And while I was on the phone talking, I'm scribbling this down as fast as I can. And she's reading, because this was actually a landline that we were using. And in the process of using this landline, as I'm sitting there holding the phone like this up to my ear, she's reading it off the caller ID. So that was how we got that number, got her phone number. And then she did a reverse search while we were on the phone. Kept her on the phone for a good while. And in the process of all of this, she gets an address. And I started making phone calls as soon as she got off the phone. Just, it was one of those things, how you get any of you who are out there who are parents know exactly what I'm talking about. You don't necessarily know if there's anything wrong, but something doesn't feel right. And a lot of the times you're absolutely dead on. If you will, my parental spider senses had kicked in. They were tingling big time. Something was wrong. I didn't necessarily know if I was right, wrong, or indifferent, but I knew something wasn't right. It didn't feel right. So we then, I got on the phone, started making phone calls. I talked to, I ended up talking to a sheriff's deputy. I talked to the Park Hills Police Department, Leadington Police Department, and even briefly talked to somebody on the emergency, division of family services hotline. Yeah, I said that on purpose. Here in Missouri, they like to call it Children's Division. No, they had it right initially. Division of Family Services. That's another subject for another time. Definitely worthy of in your face. But anyhow, so I'm on the, and I was on the phone with them, and I explained and finally I got a hold of an officer that would listen. I said, look, man, I said, we just did this reverse search. I said, she's been keeping them from me. Look, I don't necessarily think there's anything, I don't know if there's anything wrong. I said, I don't know. I said, but something tells me she isn't right. She's been drinking. It's just the two of them. I'm concerned. Look, it's my son. I'm pleading with you. Have you got children? Princess Faye's doing good. She's feeling a little, low today. She's feeling low. So if she pokes in here, just, big shout out and reminder that she's loved. You know what I'm saying? So in the process of all of this, like I said, and the officer is like, do you want me to just do a wellness check? I said, that would be wonderful. Give me the address. So I gave him the address. He goes over to her apartment and he calls back. He says, they're not here. And I tell the officer, oh my God, she's out drinking and driving with him in the car. This is initially what I thought. And so he says, wait a minute. He's, well, when I said she's out drinking, he said, sir, how do you know? Right, Mikey G? I mean, she's good. She's really good at it. Well, says, how do you know she's drunk? And this is as straight as, I said, sir, with all due respect, I am a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I am 3 years sober. I think I know what drunk is. And he turns around, he says, that's all I needed to hear. He says, can you give me a description of her car? And I said, yes. I said, I don't know the license plate. I said, but I can give you a good description. And I started describing her car to a T. And he says, he says to me, he says, Magnum, he says, I think she just pulled in. Let me call you right back. It took 10 minutes, and it was one of the longest 10 minutes of my life. He calls me back. Mr. Magnum, I have a few questions for you. He says, are you the legal father of Devin? I said, yes, sir, I am. I have the new birth certificate had just come in, which was, believe it or not, 10 days ago, and I had it in hand. I said, I have it in hand. I said, I said, do you need to see that? He said, well, you'll need to bring it with you. He says, number 2, do you have the means to take care of your son, Devin? And I said, at this point in time, no, but you give me 24 hours and I will. He said, okay. He said, last but not least, he says, next, are you willing to take your son, Devin? And I said, sir, do you really need to ask me that after all we've already been through tonight? And he says, no, I guess I don't. And he said, how soon can you be here? I said, sir, you're not even talking to me. I've already left. I'm on my way. Like that. And he said, I'll see you when you get here. And hung up, found our way over there to her apartment. Wasn't 100% sure where we were going. It was right on the edge of Leadington and Park Hills. So Think Different is, in here. He knows exactly where I'm talking about. Get over to her apartment. Her car is, I pulled up to where her car was being pulled up onto a flatbed. Her car was being impounded. She's in the back of a police cruiser, beating on the police cruiser, cussing at me the moment she sees me get out of the car. You son of a, rah, rah, rah. Officer says, you make any more noise and you're going to be charged with more. He's like, don't you make a single move. And I walk up to the officer in charge of the scene. I said, I gave him my name and I pulled out the birth certificate and started pulling out all this information for him. And he says, okay. He said, you're in the wrong spot. Her apartment's down there. And I'm like, her apartment is down there? What? And it didn't dawn on me. He said, I can't talk anymore about the case. He said, you're going to have to talk to family services from here. He says, I need you to come down to her apartment. Okay, sir. So I go down to her apartment, walk inside, and I know we're bad housekeepers here, and I'm not going to deny that. We're not the greatest housekeepers, but we're talking trash bags, just trash bags, full of trash, stacked up like this. Not a joke. Stacked. You had a walkway going into the living room in this apartment. You walk through this walls of trash. It looked like a junkyard. I'm not kidding. It actually reminded me of when I was a trash man, going to the landfill. So it was like that. Kind of spooky, get in and, it was actually stacked almost as high as me on both sides going in. Get into the living room. There's a little bit of room to move around, but it, kind of cluttered and kind of filthy. Plenty of room to watch the television, though. We're talking plates of half-eaten food with cigarette butts put out in it. This is what my son was living in so far. Get to the kitchen area. This is typical of your apartment layout here in Missouri. I don't know what it's like where everyone else is at. And in the sink, dishes were stacked to the point where if you just kept stacking them, they'd have fallen over. So what she started doing is start stacking them against the wall so they wouldn't just, you guys get the idea. Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it, Kavachu. What's going on, Sean? Telling a story about my son being 3 years sober and what he was living in, telling this story about this. You're gonna love this. So so this is what I've seen my son living in. Like I said, these were the dishes. Look over to my right and the kitchen table. Again, nothing but it's good to see you, Sean. Gosh dang it, man. Perfect night for you to show up and hear this story. Then I get to, look over here at the kitchen table. On the kitchen table, again, plates and plates of half-eaten food, cigarette butts in each and every one of the plates. That was how my ex lived. I remember yelling it. I'm telling the story about my son, Devin, how I became a single father for a while. But anyhow, so in the process of this, like I said, plates, cigarette butts out. I mean, it was a disaster. And as a matter of fact, you could literally see what kind of life she liked to live, how her disease had taken over. Remember, heroin had taken over her life. She literally had kicked over, just basically kicked over the chairs, would walk through the kitchen and just kick over the chairs. Whatever, man. I love my children. But anyhow, you look into the bathroom, that was a nightmare. But worse yet, and I used to remember for a long time but she had taken lipstick and wrote some crazy message all over the mirror. And when I looked into the bathroom and seen that, the police were actually getting pictures of what was written all over the mirror. So she was that much of a psychopath at this point due to her addictions. Look into one of the bedrooms. It was nothing but trash bags. If you wanted to go in there, and that was my son's room, by the way, you would have, to get to his crib, you would have to walk over piles and piles of trash bags. Some of them had clothes in them. Most of them was just trash. Not a joke. Okay. And about 20 feet from her apartment was a dumpster. That's kind of another subject that for another time, but yeah, I don't talk about that one much. Talk a little bit about it, but tonight, but I don't talk a whole lot about it. So here I am, I look in there, I'm like, okay, where is my, and I had to look at an officer. I said, okay, where is my son? He's in there, the main bedroom. Oh no, it's all good, Mikey G. It's just one of those things that's kind of hard for me to talk about. Let's just say, again, Missouri is one of the most communist states in the world. It's more communist than Cuba. We'll leave it at that for the moment. But then, I look into I look into the master bedroom, and again, nothing but bags of trash. I actually to oh, it used to be a really great state back in the 80s. I'll have to tell that sometime. But anyhow, to get to my son, I had to crawl across nonstop trash bags. The police had to actually help make a pathway so I can get my son and carry him out of that bedroom. When I got to my son, no, it's not. Used to be. Under John Ashcroft it was, but now we're getting into politics and AA doesn't go there. So, like I said, to get to my son, I had to crawl across all these trash bags, and the police literally had to help me move these bags so I could get my son out. And, I pick him up, no blankets on him whatsoever. And this apartment was probably, no, we won't. I had to literally, pick up my son who was ice cold. I don't know how he didn't get sick or anything like that. And the apartment was probably like 60 degrees. And then I had to basically pick him up and, carry him out. And his diaper was just like soaked. Hadn't been touched in probably numerous hours. You know what I'm saying? Several hours. So basically he'd been sitting in a diaper, cold, no blankets on, and on a mattress that I've seen mattresses that have been drugged through mud that look cleaner than this mattress. So this is what my son was living in. We searched, the police, my ex, Lady Katrina, and that sort of thing. We all searched the apartment for clothes and for a car seat and things like that. And they actually asked his mother, she's like, I ain't telling you nothing. And they said, look, right now you're looking at least 5 to 10 years. Okay. When you go in front of a judge, you're looking at 5 to 10 years. You might want to do something to at least cooperate because it doesn't look good for you right now. And that sort of thing. And basically she said, okay, you'll need this, and this. That was all she would, it was just a handful of stuff. And, they came back and said, she's not going to be super cooperative, but she's, here's a few things to help. I said, okay, perfect. No problem. I said, we'll get the rest. Let me deal with it from here. Okay. And then I said to the arresting officer, I said, sir, may I ask what the charges are? He said, I can't tell you anything more. Prince Magnum, I can't tell you any more about the case. You'll have to talk with the DFS worker. And I said, that's severe, huh? He said, I'll put it to you like this. When we were putting her in the car, she should have ducked. Bounced her head off the roof of the car. When a police officer in a small town does that, it's pretty serious. They're very angry. Boom! Watch your head. Yeah, it was that bad. And, we're talking, if a police officer does that, I mean, because if you do something like that down here where I live, you do something like that and you're asking for trouble, okay? Especially doing to a woman, okay? That's like a big no-no. You don't do stuff like that. And people won't tolerate that sort of stuff. But in this particular case, everybody looked the other way. She was put on a 24-hour hold. Due to face a judge, all this other stuff. I mean, it was pretty severe. I said, well, okay, So we packed up my son, got him in the car, started taking off. I was driving. I got 2 blocks away, slammed on the brakes, And I looked at Lady Katrina and I said, oh my God, I know what she was arrested for. What was she arrested for? You didn't figure it out? They were impounding her car. They knocked on the door. Nobody answered. Devin was in the apartment. She left him home. She was out drinking and driving and left him home alone. After she got off the phone with me, she decided to go out joyriding, drinking and driving, and left him all by himself in the apartment. Who knows how long? Because the entire time it took me, an hour and a half just to get someone to listen to me. So he may have been home alone for an hour and a half by himself in a freezing cold apartment, no blankets on him, with a wet diaper that'd been on him for several hours. That sort of thing. So that was pretty hair-raising. I remember calling my job that night because at that time I still worked nursing, and I called the nursing home and I said, guys, I got a problem. They're like, what's up? I said, yeah. I said, I have my son. They're like, wait a minute. We know you got a son. What do you mean you have your son? I said, my son, Devin, we literally just got him from the police. Like, we just got home from the police turning him over to us like a half an hour ago. I'm not going to be able to make it into work tomorrow. We're going to have to start figuring this out from here. And you should have heard the response. Oh my God. Are you okay? Do you need anything? No. I called sober man and woke him up in the middle of the night and told him what was going on. Not a joke. I called him up in the middle of the night. Sober man, you're not going to believe this. And he said, what do you mean? And I told him what had happened. He's like, oh my God, what do you need? What do you need? And I said, I don't know where to begin right now. I really don't. I'm scared to death. This is kind of a scary experience. 3 years sober at that time. And I was at a meeting. Well, the next day it all began. My son didn't know me. His mother kept him from me. I got to see him a couple of times. And went to Walmart, started buying stuff that he was going to need. I said, but you know what? It's been a little while since I got to take one of my kids down a toy aisle. He's real little. He's maybe a little over a year old. So let's go down the toy aisle. Walking down the toy aisle. And at this time, The Dark Knight was out. The one, that everyone said, was Heath Ledger's greatest role. And seen a couple of Batman figurines. And said, we got a little bit of money. Let's go ahead and get these. They don't cost that much, right? So we bought one each, and I still have my figurine, that Batman figurine. Had it all this time, and I put it I actually have a box over in the corner of the office. It's full of just stuff that I've collected, really cool stuff. Sometime we'll have to go through that box. And I grabbed the second one, and handed it to Devin. He looks at it and looks up at me like, this is for me, and we come home, opened up the box, and he realized that Dad wasn't going to hurt him. And, interesting. But from there, my son and I became, I've always been a fan of Batman. And I know you all know that my son, for Father's Day and everything like that, he'll still send me stuff. He's like, happy Father's Day. He called me on my birthday and, happy birthday, Dad. You know I'm thinking of you. Yeah, son, I know you are. I'm always thinking of you. Always thinking of you. And somewhere in here, I actually still have, I still have, that you've all seen me wear it. That hat that has the kind of foil looking Batman logo on it. My son gave me that. That was his gift to me uh, last last Christmas. And my son and I went through a lot together, and he'd come into work. I'd bring him into work and everything, and all people loved it. They just ate that stuff up. They're like, that's, here. And matter of fact, working the nursing homes and everything. Um, and this was in sobriety. First night, first night. Uh, I've got my son after all this, and I decided I needed a meeting, and I needed it bad. So I went to a meeting, and I told the same story that I'm telling you all right now. I'm sitting there telling that story, crying my eyes out in a meeting, saying, I had to be the worst parent in the world to allow my child to live in that type of life. Even though I didn't know, I felt like I should have been there. And um, Lady Katrina reaches over and kind of pats me on the shoulder. My son, Devin, just a little over a year old, barely able to talk, reaches over and starts patting his dear old dad on the shoulder as he's crying. It's a cigar, goof. He starts patting his dear old dad on the shoulder. Um, it was a rough show. We got through that mess. Then had my son. Had my son for about 4 months, and oh no, I'm still vaping. It's just I need to change it up a little bit. We're having some problems with that, but I'm still vaping. Well, um, in the process of all of this, um, his mother comes over for a visit, and and that sort of thing. And while we're sitting there, she's visiting him at my apartment. Lady Katrina's at work, and in the middle of this, she asked me if I could, you know, why don't you grab him one of his sippy cups real quick? I said, sure. I went over to the sink, turned around, and she had run out of the apartment and was driving off. And if I'd have grabbed my shotgun faster, I had actually planned to blow a hole right through the side of her door into her. But I wasn't quick enough. I had the shotgun near, and if I'd have been just a split second sooner, she would have been dead for trying to run off with my son. Police did nothing. Did nothing. Family Services did nothing. Well, it's a civil matter. So I lived in sobriety having a child kidnapped from me. This is not a joke. I actually went through having my child kidnapped. I'm going to tell y'all something. If you've never experienced that, I hope none of you ever do. I just turned my back for a second. I actually lived through a child being kidnapped and stayed sober. You want to talk about wanting to get drunk and burn the town down. Not paint the town red. We're talking burn it to the ground until somebody returns your child. For the record, it still crosses my mind with the way the state of Missouri is, but again, that is politics and for a different topic altogether. Now that I've said that, After living through that, and I took her to court, got full custody of my son. That was a joke in itself. Went down to the town she lived in, Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Took the paperwork into the sheriff's office. Well, we don't deal with that here. You'll have to take it over to the city. And they sent me back to the sheriff's office. Said, we're not equipped to handle this. It is the sheriff's office. I don't care what they say. Went over there. Well, we're not going to do it. Even though this is a state seal, we are not dealing with this. I'm like, this is bullshit. Bear in mind, this whole time, I'm sober, dealing with this stuff. I go into the courthouse, here over in Farmington, go to the county courthouse, tell them exactly what's going on. They called the prosecutor in Poplar Bluff, told him what was going on, gave me his number, and I called him en route, said, this is what we're going to, he told me exactly what we were supposed to do. Went in there, and same officer, he said, I told you, and I said, you hold your horses, sir. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, I was on the phone with your prosecutor. And so here's the information. Here's the number for your prosecutor. I've already been on the phone with him. As a matter of fact, I called him just before I walked inside. So I'm going to say this again. You are to call your prosecutor right now. And if you do not, I am to walk outside of this building and call him immediately. And they were like, he was like, really? I said, all right, we'll go deal with it. I'll be right back. I sat down. And you know how that person comes out of and their job is on the line sort of thing? Walks up to me. He says, sir, I apologize about this inconvenience. He says, if you have an address, let's go get your son. En route, Devin's aunt calls, tells me where they're at. We come over with the paperwork, and he goes up to the door, and my ex, Jessica, starts yelling at the officer. I ain't done nothing. He says, ma'am, I have paperwork from the state. If you do not relinquish your son right now to his father, I am authorized to take you to jail right this second. And her jaw just dropped. This is actual paperwork. Well, I wasn't there. Were you served? Yes. Did you know there was a court date? Yes. Did you show up? No. He said, then guess what? That's your problem for not showing up to court. He said, you received a summons from our department. You should have been there. And she called me later on, and she's like, I couldn't believe that you really did it. I thought he would go. I said, no. I said, I'm not leaving you with our son. I said, you were in no condition. Go get sober. She ended up getting busted, and she went to prison for 5 years. And that was the end of it. She's out. Last I heard that she was in trouble again. She was back to the same old stuff, just different day. It's sad. It's sad. But there you have it. I dealt with it, and I dealt with all of this in sobriety. When I moved away from where I live now, I moved away and lived up there near my mom in Washington, Missouri, the most corrupt town in the state, possibly. While there, single dad on my own. My son and I just in an apartment just by ourselves for a good while till Princess Faye came along. Just the two of us. And I used to take my son out. We'd work on cars together. This is all in sobriety. Okay. I know it may sound, how is this related? This is in my sobriety. I've got to do this. I was a single dad on my own, raising my son. I remember, when I would go to work, Mother's Day and Father's Day. Well, that's debatable. Is he where he's semi-safe? Yes. Is he where he's safe? That's debatable. Well said, Mikey G. You know, and here I am. I did all of this in sobriety. I lived through this. You know, if there's one thing that I hope all of you get out of this, you know, what you're hearing from me, um, you know, you can get through the tough stuff. You can get through this stuff sober. You know, I did it. Believe me, I wanted to get drunk on more than one occasion through all this crazy mess. That boy, that son of mine, as much as I love him, I'll tell you right now, he's probably giving me more gray hair than you can imagine. But that, you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. That's my boy, you know? We used to go out and work on cars together and everything. What's going on, filming? You know, we would go out and work on cars together, and I would take my son to AA meetings. Shoot, that was, you know, everyone was like, you know, that's our boy right there. You know, everyone loved him after all we'd been through, you know. There was a gal in one of the meetings I had known for a while, and her and I butted heads regularly. And I even finally had enough, and I started telling her off. Hi, Mom. We're in the middle of a live stream. I was going to say, if you let me finish up the stream, I'll give you a holler right afterwards. For those that do not know, my mother is in the live stream right now. In the live stream with us all. That is my mom. My mom has got to watch me from 3 years sober, well, make 3 years sober, all the way up to now 14 and a half years without a drink or a drug. My mom has got to see that happen. And I know she tells me regularly that she's proud of me. Yeah, that is Mama Magnum right there, who's actually joined us right now. So for those of you who do not know, you know, that is my mother, you know, and you know, here we are, you know, we're talking about, you know, talking about some of the adversity that I've faced in sobriety and stayed sober through it. My mom's got to watch me go through some crazy stuff and manage to come out sober. Sometimes I come out in rough shape, but I come out on the other side. Currently, right now, Mom, we have people from all over the world right now in chat. From here in the U.S., from the United Kingdom. Gosh, I'm sure there may even be some people from Ireland as well. Kind of lurky turkey right now, you know, lurking in the background, just listening to the story. I haven't checked the mail yet, Mom. I got to go up and take a look-see. Let me give you a holler let me go check afterwards. I'll give you a holler right afterwards. But yeah, hey, there's the chairman. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to check the mail today. I got home from work and I ended up having to help our maintenance lady here at the apartment complex. And I think our landlord is, you know, our property manager is going to knock some money off of next month's rent. So, and then I lied down and I passed out. I was out like a light because I was at work at 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, so again, for those that do not know, my mom is in the chat. For the record, real quick, when I made 3 years sober, my mom came and heard my story. And that's probably one of the biggest highlights of my sobriety, one of the all-time greatest moments for my mom to hear my story. And, you know, it's one of those awesome deals that let me tell y'all right now, okay? When you get into sobriety and you're, you know, you're doing your dues and everything, and you're starting to try to put your life back on track and everything, let me tell y'all, okay, that it is all-time great bragging rights when your parents come and listen to you as a speaker. It's also all-time greatest bragging rights when your kids come and listen to you. There you go. That's what's up. So we got, you know, That's just really awesome right now. Like I said, and my mom got to hear me. And right now, my mom has actually got to listen to a few of the live streams. She's also been with us through a few of these. I think this is her first sober talk with us, but she's watched a couple of cooking episodes and things like that. Nothing but excitement right there. And, you know, my mom was there when I got married for the very first time, and I got married to Princess Faye. Um, you know, uh, in sobriety, I started the YouTube channel. In sobriety, I've done what I've done. The biggest, I'm not going to say that it didn't have good stuff happen before I got sober. I did have good stuff that happened. I had a lot of amazing stuff that happened. I got stories to tell there. But a lot of those great feats pale in comparison to what has happened since I've gotten sober. Those stories have more depth, more meaning. And a lot of it boils down to the fact that, we're actually talking about the fact that I've been given a second chance at life. Okay. Alcoholism took me away from life. Sobriety gave me life back. You know, that's and how many of you been with me through a lot of these stories, hearing these stories and being a part of the story now? You guys are now part of that same story. How exciting is that? I mean, you guys are part of the story now. Hi, honey. There's my beautiful wife now joining the chat. She's been feeling a little low today. So y'all send my missus. The old Prince Magnum didn't care about much. Big story, huh? Yeah. And I faced a lot of challenges through sobriety. I suffered a stroke, believe it or not, almost 10 years ago. In sobriety, I faced a stroke. A lot of you have been part of this great big family that we've created here on YouTube, the Maverick Nation. A lot of you now part of the big family. A lot of you been with me through a lot of these. Yeah, I've lived through that stroke, came out on the other side. Yeah, I know. Tell you a funny story. When I had my stroke, I was actually at work, of all the places. I was actually at work when I had my stroke. And when it all happened, I mean, the whole building seemed like it was just spinning. And I walked up to my charge nurse. Funny as in ironic would be the way I would put it. But what ended up happening was my left arm. For those that don't know, I don't have a whole lot of feeling in the left side of my body. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. And my left arm had actually drawn up into my abdomen like that. No, definitely not a ha-ha funny story. Funny as in ironic. And it drawn up like that. And I spent 3 days. For the most, okay, honey, I'll be done with the stream here in just a little bit. I'm not 100%, it looks like it. But, my left arm finally, after 3 days, kind of, unseized itself. But I lost a lot of feeling. And some of the vision in my left eye, if I look at flashing lights too long, my eye unfocuses. So real quick, for those of you who I play Fortnite with, let me say right now, the fact that I do what I do on Fortnite should be actually a surprise, because after probably about 3 or 4 rounds, you hear me get kind of quiet because I have to focus in. Oh, you're new here? Okay, well, welcome to the live stream. My left eye completely unfocuses, and it's like I'm looking through several layers of cellophane, saran wrap, and it's just like it's kind of like that. I can still see, but this eye will no longer focus. So what I actually have to do is I have to actually kind of turn my head a little bit, where my right eye is a little bit more on the screen of the computer to be able to play Fortnite. So the fact that I could do what I do on Fortnite should actually be a surprise. I shouldn't be able to do anything like that. But thankfully, I spent enough time playing World of Warcraft back in the day, so I actually got really good at tanking with one eye. It was really funny because I remember some people, when I would go into a dungeon, I had an actual macro. I would click on it and immediately tell everybody in the group, "Oh, really? Huh? Interesting. Cool. Well, welcome to the live stream." So, so what ends up happening is I would hit that macro, and this is because of my stroke, and it automatically say, "I am your tank," and would give my, I'm Prince Magnum, and I'm your tank. I have to warn you that I have had a stroke and I have a difficulty with my left eye. So if at any point she just comes on, she doesn't have an actual channel. She just has an account so she can follow her son and support him. Pretty cool, huh? So in the process of this, she, it would say, that I had had a stroke, that I have some difficulties, but at any point the group feels that I'm not doing a good enough job as their tank, they can politely ask me to leave, and I will leave with no questions asked. And that was how I did it, and I was fair. And immediately most everyone was like, "Really? Well, let's give it a try. What's the worst that can happen?" You know, you know, what? Anything doctors can do? Not really at this point. Not really. There's not a whole lot doctors can do at this point, other than just, they're like, "Well, you've managed to heal up pretty nicely, and you seem to be doing extremely well. Whatever it is that you have found that works, do it." And like I said, so here I am. I put this macro out there, and I'm very polite about it. And they're like, "Hey, let's give it a try. What's the worst can happen?" So we would go and I would do the dungeons 9 times out of 10. Everyone would oftentimes say, "You did an amazing job. You're a really good tank." And they would oftentimes ask me to stay in group and keep going with them. And so that was me, back in the day and playing World of Warcraft. And I would oftentimes tell them straight up honest, "You guys know, you need to know that I've had a stroke, and I may not do a very good job. So I apologize now. And if you want me to leave at any point, just say so. And just, hey, you're not holding your own. Can you step out of group?" And most everyone, there was a few people that were kind of jerks about it. And most of the time, the rest of the group would be like, "Hey, man, he's open and honest. You're the one who's going to have to go." And usually it was someone, it was usually a DPS, and they'd kick him out of the group. It's like that. So, it was just one of those things. So for those of you who I play Fortnite with, now you actually are probably really impressed. Sitting there going, "Holy crap, Prince Magnum. You held your own playing Fortnite and you can't even see?" I played some ranked in there, and I do okay. I'm not doing the greatest. I usually come in about the top 20 in ranked. So that's not too bad. Not too bad. Don't worry, TFZ. What's the worst can happen? You can't do any worse than me. You know, but we have fun. That's all that matters. We're just having fun, having a good time, you know. So, and again, this is something that I've had to deal with in sobriety. I've had a stroke in sobriety. As a matter of fact, I even at one point had blood clots in my left lung. And Princess Faye used to have to give me blood thinner injections. She'd actually have to stick me with a needle in my abdomen because I couldn't do it myself. I just could not stick myself. Really? Pretty cool, man. But yeah, Princess Faye had to use to stick me. Trying to get to gold. That's what's up. You know, I'm not a huge Call of Duty fan. I guess you could say I have kind of like a really. I have kind of a problem with Call of Duty, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that I actually played the original PlayStation 2 version of Call of Duty, and their very original one when Call of Duty, the very first Call of Duty came out on PlayStation 2. I actually played it. Pretty much, yeah. And usually, if I get away from all the computers and the flashing lights and everything like that, I can see just fine. And I have problems with my memory and sometimes problems with my concentration, which brings us to why I had to retire from my original profession. I worked in the medical field for 13 years, and I had to give up my profession. There you go. Thank you. I had to give up my profession in sobriety, and I had to stay sober through that. I managed to hold out for a couple of months after my stroke, but I just couldn't do it. I was having a hard time, and what had happened was is at certain points, and even every once in a while, I'll still deal with this. It's not a big issue, but I'll go to read something, and I understand what I'm reading, but it doesn't fully connect with the mind. So even though I've read it, even though I know what it says, it doesn't connect. Really? Maintenance over in Parton, Canada? That's pretty cool. So, I mean, thankfully I do kind of a hands-on job. Thank you, Kevin. I do a hands-on job where it's mostly just attention to detail. I don't have to look anything super crazy or anything like that. And, I'm a McDonald's maintenance man, and I make pretty decent money doing it. I make decent money. That's the funny thing about McDonald's, That's the funny thing about McDonald's. For the normal rank and file person, it is a throwaway job. But if you stick around long enough, you can. Jasper National Park, that's what's up. We know what happened. My last year in nursing, I kept taking staph infections. And it got to the point where every 2 weeks, I was taking antibiotics for another staph infection. I'd get it healed up. Well, I wouldn't even have that one fully healed up, and I had a new one. Believe it or not, as best you can see right over here, this scar was from my very first staph infection, and it had actually tunneled up like such, and I actually had to remove, bear in mind, this is in sobriety, I had to deal with this stuff. I would actually have to occasionally take tweezers and reach up inside the hole here that had tunneled up and remove nasty scar tissue. Right? Same here. I would have to remove scar tissue so it would heal. And I fought with this for about 3 weeks. At the end of the 3 weeks, I had pulled back the bandage, continually working with it and trying to get it to heal up. And I was in an AA meeting talking about it. And I said, and I knew it was going to scar. And at that time, I had the whole baby face thing going on, sitting there in a meeting. And I'll never forget it. And I started crying. I said, I know really, I've never been there. I said, I know that I'm not going to stay young looking and, have the whole baby face thing going. As I get older, eventually I'm going to lose that. Um, but, the aging process is slow, takes time. You know, this was a sudden, spectacular moment that I have this scar. Really? Really? Yes. Same here. Same here. And I said this was a big spectacular moment for me. And I don't know how to deal with this. That's cool, man. I said I don't know how to deal with this. And I'm going to have this scar. It's on my face. And I have to look at it every day. And it doesn't even look like me when I look in the mirror. But I'm stuck with it. And I'm crying in the middle of the meeting. And I said, no, a lot of you have tried to make me feel better. Oh, it's not noticeable. It is to me. It is to me. I see it. And it shouldn't be there. After the meeting, everyone was like, really? I've never been to one. And I said, after the meeting, people came up, oh, I've had this, and it was all, I mean, I know they tried, and I was just getting more and more angry. Well, this one guy who came up and had a severe accident, and he looks at me and he says, I got it. He said, I know what you're going through. When I had my accident, every time I look in the mirror, it's not me. It's not me looking back in that mirror. I get it. Right? That's what's up. I like learning something. I like learning. Comes up, like I said, he said this to me. He says, I understand where you're coming from. That's all I needed, was someone to just understand how I felt. What'd you miss? Just talking about sobriety. At the end of it, I understood it. And I talked to Sober Man about it. He said, I guess, you're not late. You're just in time for what you need to hear. For the record, I'm not going to deny. Sometimes I still look in the mirror and I'll see the scar over here. And I get really upset. I remember looking at Princess Faye and I said, I'm sorry I'm not as handsome as I once was. Looked right at my own, at that time I looked right at my own wife, said, who was going to be my wife. So I'm sorry, not as handsome as I once was. I said, but everything else I have to offer, it's yours. I'm going to tell y'all, I know, but, it was one of those things, man. It's not a fault thing. I know it's not my fault or anything like that. It's just circumstance. But, it's one of those things that when something like that happens to you, I'll tell y'all, sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror. We do the makeup live streams and you'd never know that I was self-conscious about that, and I dealt with this in sobriety. Like I said, I sat in an AA meeting and broke down and started crying about it in the middle of the meeting. In sobriety, I had to say goodbye to a sponsee because he had OD'd. He was 21 when he passed. You want to talk about tough? Man, that was tough. I remember walking into the funeral home and meeting his dad at the front door. I'd never met his dad. I'd met his mom, but I'd never met his dad. And Princess Faye's behind me along with a friend. Start walking in the door to pay my respects. Right. And his dad stopped me. He says, who are you? If I may ask. I said, well, I told him my name. I'm Prince Magnum. I've sponsored, It's open for anybody. This is open for anybody. I'm just telling the stories of my sobriety. I started to. No, you're not a bother. Just make yourself right at home. Most everyone in here is not members of AA. They come here for the story. Yep. They're here just for the stories. A lot of people find a little bit of peace and comfort knowing that someone's staying sober through adversity. Sobriety isn't just, sobriety can be a bed of roses, but with a bed of roses, it comes with a lot of thorns too, There's nothing wrong with that. And if you can enjoy a drink, enjoy it. But, I'm walking into this funeral home, look right at, his dad, who are you? I was, Zach's sponsor. You're so-and-so, you're Prince Magnum. That's tough, Chairman. Both tough to get over. And he said, I know who you are. We've never met. I'm Zach's dad. And I looked down at the floor and then looked up at him and I said, sir, I'm sorry. And he gives me this great big hug. He said, I heard about you. You tried so hard to reach my son. You tried so hard. He said, you were doing everything imaginable to reach my son. Thank you for trying. Then I walked over to his mother and I took her hand and I said, I'm so sorry. I tried I tried so hard to help him, to give him a reason to stick around. She gives me this big hug, says, I know you tried. You did everything you could think of. She said, my son looked up to you. He just didn't want to stick around. And so maybe this world was too cruel for his big heart. And the God of our understanding had to take him home. And he was a handsome looking man. Oh my gosh. Just bright, beautiful smile for a young man. And, didn't matter which way you swung, you just had to admire a handsome looking man like that. And at 21 years old, bright future in front of him, to be cut down by this disease. That's another one that when I'm standing there in front of my maker, I'm going to have some questions to ask. I had to say goodbye to him. I guess you could say a part of my sobriety kind of died with him that day. Kind of that innocence that we all make it back at some point. And at that point, I realized that some of us just don't make it back when we go back out. And sober man, him and I were talking about that. I said, I don't understand this one. He said, Prince Magnum, in sobriety, in Alcoholics Anonymous, there's the good, There's the bad. So high. I don't know. 21 is the usual drinking age here in the United States. And it's 19 where you're at. I honestly don't know. I don't have a clue. It probably has something to do with some stuff left over from our prohibition, is what I'm thinking. But I really don't. I'll be absolutely honest with you. I don't have an answer for that one. And I hate not having an answer for a question, but that's just one of those things. I think they figure if you're old enough to vote, well, it's one of those things that, after you've had some life experience and you're old enough to vote and have a little bit more experience and that sort of thing, they figure, okay, you're smart enough to not be stupid. It's 18 in the UK. Big hugs to you, Kevin. So I really honor. Prohibition is that time in the United States where alcohol was completely banned here in the U.S. It's 18 in Australia. Wow. Really? That's interesting. But yeah, here in the United States, we had a period of time back in the early 1900s, all the way up to about the 1930s, where drinking was completely and totally outlawed. Yep. Well, you could use it for medicinal purposes in the medical field. You could use alcohol then. Other than that, no, it was a big no-no. So if you in hospitals, you could still get alcohol. But there was the speakeasies and then, the gangsters that did the bootlegging gangsters from back then. So that's where you get the famous stories of Al Capone, is because of our prohibition. There was a whole lot of stuff that most people didn't know, like your bathtub gins and things like that. As a matter of fact, one of the guy who's the CEO of Jim Beam, his brother got busted for running a moonshine still. Most people don't know that one. I've heard that one too. Yeah. So there, that's a funny thing. And as a matter of fact, towards the end of Prohibition in the 1930s, Alcoholics Anonymous got its start during that time. June 1935, if I remember correctly. The co-founder, Dr. Bob, was the second member of Alcoholics Anonymous. It started with Bill W. And then Bill W. eventually found Dr. Bob. Then they found another guy named Bill. Yeah, that's another story. They found another. Oh my gosh, come on, Prince. Oh, they found. I think his name was something like Bill Dotson. Oftentimes in AA referred as Alcoholics Anonymous #3. And then it just kind of blew up from there. And then in 1939, 1940 was when the AA, the first edition of the AA Big Book was released. In 1955, the second edition was released. In the 1970s, the third edition was released. And around 2000, the fourth edition was released. And now Alcoholics Anonymous is seriously considering releasing a fifth edition, finally. After over 20 years, they're talking about that. The AA Big Book, we always say the first 174 pages have not been changed, but there's more than that have not been changed. Since its original release in 1940, from the first edition, those first 174 pages plus a few others, our government, you're getting into politics, and I won't do politics with AA. You're best to catch me on an in your face live stream, and I will be glad to tell you. The only thing I can tell you is there are two governments here in the United States, and I'll leave it at this, okay? There's two governments here in the United States. There's the one that we vote for and we think is in power, but it's not. It's just there to give us, to give people in the United States the illusion that we have control. And then there's the actual government that's put into power by corporations, the shadow government. That's the one that's actually in control, the one that's taking our rights away even as we speak. So much so that Alcoholics Anonymous has started kind of preparing the groups for more influxes of people who are turning alcoholics, who are turning to using marijuana, smoking pot. Night, Chairman. Rest well. And the reason why we're starting to see, and this is where I'll leave this particular subject. The reason why we're seeing the legalization of pot across the U.S. A high society does not ask questions when their rights are being taken away. That's why methamphetamine was widely used in Nazi Germany. Pay close attention to that, folks. It's not a theory. It's not a theory, okay? We have the actual documentation that talks about this. You're welcome to look it up. You're not going to find it on Google. Go over to Tor. Go over to Tor and use the DuckDuckGo engine. You'll find all sorts of interesting stuff on it, okay? Just trust me on that. We'll leave it at that. All right. No, he's from Canada. He was talking like he's from Canada. So, again, back to the topic at hand, talking about sobriety. Yep. And here in the United States, it's usually 21. Of course, that's the legal age to drink. A lot of people get started drinking. My first drunk was at the age of 14. The age of 14. Not a joke. That was literally my first real drunk. And I got belligerent, fighting mad, and it was just one of those things. Right. So, that was my first real drunk when I was, ooh. Well, that's kind of a funny story. Now that you asked that one there, Mikey G. It was one of those, kind of mistakes, that, okay, let me take it, Well, I would love to answer some of your questions about, again, I won't talk politics when I'm talking Alcoholics Anonymous. We like to not involve politics in Alcoholics Anonymous, and true to our, true to AA's 12 traditions, I won't do that. And that's just kind of the general rule of thumb. It's not that I don't want to answer your questions. It's just that I can't out of respect for Alcoholics Anonymous. It's just, when you talk AA, you want to try to stay close to the task at hand. It's kind of like that, nothing against, again, it's not that I don't want to answer questions. It's just, the only questions I'm really taking right now. Yeah, you can ask a few of the questions. I mean, to the best, if I can answer it, I will. Okay. Just do the best I can. Yeah, it's just one of those things, certain subjects, we don't talk religion, we don't talk politics. It's one of those things that, it's out of respect for AA because AA saved my life, Right, Sean? right? And Sean, since you're here tonight, you know what joke we're going to be doing. Oh yeah, you know what joke we're going to be doing. So again, if I mean, this is what the heck? That's a good question. Some businesses like to put on the aura of being patriotic. A lot of business. That's true. That's true. Yesterday we did the joke outside on the porch. Some businesses like to put on the aura that they're patriotic. Some businesses really are patriotic, but some just put on the aura that they're patriotic. And some of those flags, depending on the flag, might deal with veterans. It might deal with things like that. Right. Some businesses are just like that. Now, I know, because our federal government runs the Postal Service, you will see in front of the Postal Service, you'll see a lot of flags, like a state flag, maybe you'll see a lot of that stuff, and of course the United States, stars and stripes, you'll see that, but that's commonplace. That's just about everywhere. As a matter of fact, in the old McDonald's that I worked in, we used to have 3 different flagpoles. We had one that had a flag with the McDonald's logo on it. We had a U.S., the United States Stars and Stripes, and of course we also had a Missouri flag, which, ironically enough, all 3 flags were made in China. Ironically enough, but they did not bring the flags back when when they rebuilt the building, and a lot of people felt that we should have. I'm kind of glad we didn't, because no flag here in the United States is made in the United States. Pretty sad whenever the Stars and the Stripes is made, Yeah, a lot of stuff is. Now, we are now at that stage where we do need to begin winding down for the evening. I got a few phone calls to make. I got people who will be calling me soon, and just got the usual Prince Magnum off the camera business to handle. But primarily, the Prince Magnum channel is a DIY channel, and being a DIY channel, if you're not familiar, we do project cars primarily. And one of the main project cars is Project Spirit, my 1975 Ford Maverick. Yeah, I work tomorrow. I work 4 a.m. to 11. Kind of a short shift compared to yeah. So to go along with that, to get these awesome shots that go out from over the hood of the project cars, Sean's all excited. His favorite joke. We use these dash cameras right here. This is actually the one that's usually mounted in Project Lena. Literally, it's called the Lena Cam. You can actually see that right up here. So, that being said, this... So, this is actually one of the dash cameras. 1080 pixel HD camera, black web. Really good camera, believe it or not. Damn good camera. Now that I've said that, being a really, really good camera, we use these cameras for a lot of stuff. If I need a small camera, getting in tight spaces, we use these cameras for just about everything here on the channel. We do have a camera that was donated not too terribly long ago to the channel that does an even better job than these, and it's a big handheld. But along with that, we still use these a lot. Now that I've said that, they don't make regular camera mounts for these, or camera stands. And the only way to mount it to anything is right here on the top. And that's just going through to mount it to your windshield, and goes right over the dash, right out over the hood. So if I wanted to mount it to anything, man, that how you mount it sometimes is an absolute nightmare. So I got the idea one day. Why don't I make my own camera stand? Well, this is the camera stand right here. This is literally the camera stand. And what we did was I went in behind HQ, cut down this small tree. And normally the city comes through and cuts down this patch of small trees because snakes like to live there. Well, because of the pandemic, they haven't been able to get to it. And woo, there you go. 75 Corvette's pretty cool. But anyhow, and I cut out a section from this tree and did some carving. And basically I carved out this spot right here, and the camera sits right like this, right in that slot. But to get the camera lens right here to fit perfectly, what I did was I took this file right here, this kind of half round file here, and I laid it down right here on this spot right here, and I worked it back and forth until I had this perfect slot for the camera. And I can still get to the controls back here and everything, and the lens sits perfectly right there, no problem. So, because I took this file right here and used it on this block of wood, that must mean I am good at filing, as should try my hand at being a secretary. There it is. Oh my goodness. But classic joke from here in the office, here on the Prince Magnum channel. It's an absolute, it's one of the favorite jokes that I tell every now and again. Yep. We tell some other ones every now and again. Like when we were working on the axe head yesterday, I said, I was talking about the new angle grinder. New angle grinders right here. So for those of you in the gaming community who like to grind, here's our new angle grinder. For those of you who like to grind. Another classic joke. The puns are strong with this one. But anyhow. Right. So we are at that spot where we do need to begin winding down for the evening. I gotta call my mom. I gotta go check the mail because evidently, that's true. I understand. Again, I hope you all enjoyed some of these stories. I mean, like I said, I lived through some crazy stuff in sobriety, and y'all got to hear it, But it just goes to show you can stay sober. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I know you're going to get on. I ate a little while ago. I took care of my blood sugar, And initially what I thought I was going to be talking about, see what I mean? What evidently I needed to talk about tonight did come out. So there we have it. See what I mean? Queen, you got more stories tonight. You got a lot more stories, didn't you? Yeah, I did take care of me earlier. So we are now at that stage. We will be again live tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are going to be doing a grow stream. I do need someone remind me after the stream at some point. I need to put a post up for those of you who want to grow your channel. It'll be a first come, first served basis that, if you want to get involved. Now, the way this is going to work is when I put the post up, I always go live at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time without fail every day except Tuesdays. Yes, thank you again, Sean, for reminding everyone. And what we will do on the post, so every day, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, US, we go live. And what you will expect is the only day that is set in stone is Thursday nights. We do sober talk. The rest of the time, we're usually working on some DIY project. We're doing a walk around and or something like that. I know at some point this week that I'm going to be making a loaf of homemade bread and turning that into bruschetta. Yeah. You hush. 8 o'clock, yeah, 8 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock time, your time then. Yeah, there has been those times where I overslept or something happened and I had to start late. But normally, without fail, it's usually 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern. That'll also be 6 o'clock Mountain and 5 o'clock Pacific. All right. For those of you over in the UK, that's usually 1 o'clock a.m. when I go live. Well, I haven't seen any of them. Most likely, those are the companies that make the. Not usually. Every once in a while, it happens. There's been the times that I've accidentally overslept, because I usually, yes, there will be a post, and basically you throw your name in the hat to say, I want to grow my channel. And when the live stream starts, you have to be in the live stream, because as soon as we start, basically moderators, we're all going to be running our asses off, pulling links to people's channels. Yeah, it'll be on the community tab. And what will happen is you throw your name in the hat, basically, first come, first serve. And when the live stream starts, when you are here, I will have a list of those names ready to rock and roll. We will then begin with the first name on that list. If you're not here and your name's at the top of the list, I won't shout you out unless you're here. That's how it's going to roll. And then basically we'll spend X amount of time trying to help you hit your next goal. So if you're, say, sitting at, we'll say, thank you. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate that. Basically, what we will do is at the start of it, it'll be in the community tab where everybody can kind of throw their name in the hat. And once it starts, what we will then do is we'll go to that person's channel, we'll post the link, and then we're going to stay, we'll pick this channel up, and we're going to push, say you're sitting at 255. We're going to try to get you all the way up to 265 or something like that. We're going to try to hit that next milestone, hit another milestone for you. And we'll spend about 10, 15 minutes there and then move on to the next name, and we might come back to it or whatever the case may be, but we're going to stay live. Since tomorrow is Friday, Saturday I do not work. We will stay live for a good little while. And we're going to shout everybody out who wants to have their channel shouted out. So that's how we're going to do it. In the process, if you feel like you want to donate to the channel as a way of saying thank you, woo, Mikey G. So we're going to try to get you to 100 tomorrow as soon as we put that up in the tab. All right. So that is the game plan for tomorrow. Saturday, if Princess Faye permits, Sexy Saturday will be on. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Sexy Saturday, that is where Princess Faye slathers my face in makeup, and then you all get to hang out with Prince Magnum's alter ego, Cinnamon, for the rest of the live stream. I get to do some acting, and it's a lot of fun. We have a great time. So Sunday, we haven't gotten that far. We might try to do something to the Project Cars Sunday. Don't know yet. In that time, throughout the weekend, since I am off, we will, there's an excellent chance throughout that time, we may go live here and there as, kind of supplementing my time, because we are getting very close to that 3,000 hour marker. So that is the plan. We're looking to get the monetization turned back on. That is the plan. And yes, at one time, the Prince Magnum channel. Yeah, usual time. And we'll probably stay live for 2, 3, maybe 4 hours. We're going to try to get everybody taken care of. Okay, so that is the game plan for tomorrow. All righty. We might see about getting a Legend of Zelda stream in somewhere in this mess. I don't know yet. I know a lot of you would like to see me do a marathon stream of Breath of the Wild again. We're waiting on a new capture card. We did get one donated, but it won't connect into the computer to let me live stream it. Well, you rest up and we're getting ready to shut it down anyways. But it does amazing captures, but it won't capture to live stream. One of the things. But it's still it gets amazing footage. For Queen Bee's birthday video, believe it or not, we actually used that capture card and it got amazing footage, didn't it, Queen? It was awesome. All righty. So that does bring us to our spot where we shut it down for the night. Now, let me clue you all in. When we begin shutting it down for the night, it is traditional that we exit out of the stream in a certain way, except during Sober Talk. During Sober Talk, we have a special one that we end the stream with, special, sayings that we have. And this part of it will never change, but the first half of it does. Yeah, I'm already working on it. Already working on that one. Good question, Mikey G. Yes, I'm already working on it. I got to start editing it together. So that brings us to that point where I say to all of you, at day's end, I hope all of you need me as much as I need you. I need every last one of you out there. Along with every member of Alcoholics Anonymous, I need you guys too. I need every last one of you to help me stay sober. And as always, for all of you out there, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter who you are or what you've been through, if no one out there has told any of you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.